Hey guys, what's going on? My name is Avis. Welcome back to an episode. In today's episode, we have quite an interesting video. In today's video, I'm going to try to figure out if there's any difference between Hyperbeam and Deathbeam, because I'm pretty certain a lot of people have been asking this question over the past few years, and I couldn't really find too many videos about this topic, and well, in today's episode, we're just going to try to figure this out. Is there any difference between Hyperbeam and Deathbeam? So let's just start today's video. So you might be wondering, Ivisk, how do you gonna try to figure out if there's a difference between Hyperbeam and Deathbeam? Well, I'm actually pretty certain there's only a few things that could be different about these. Is there a difference in how many walls it can penetrate? Or is there a difference in how far the Deathbeam can reach? Or I guess that's it. Or maybe it's just a visual appearance thing that Deathbeam has just one color and Hyperbeam has multicolors. I guess that might be actually the main difference. So I'm just gonna give my prediction at the beginning of the video. I personally think that the main difference is that Hyperbeam has multiple colors or is rainbow colored and Deathbeam is just red, and I think that's the main difference. I don't think there's any other difference between those two. At least I can already tell you I couldn't really figure it out, but we're gonna try either way. So let's just start. So for my testing, I think we're gonna go with Classic Legacy right here. It seems to be a pretty good map to, well, I guess finding out the range of it, because it's pretty linear and you might be able to find people pretty easily. And well, on the map we just had, actually, I did some testing. I think Mercy it's called, if I'm not completely wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong about that, but I did some testing on this map and I couldn't really figure out the difference between the range and also not between the walls it can penetrate. It was pretty much identical. And well, we're gonna do the same exact testing on this map, so hopefully we can finally come to a conclusion, because honestly, I've been also asking this question if there's any difference between Hyperbeam and Deathbeam. So let's just start. So how I'm going to compare this is I'm going to put my alt account right over there into this little room. You can see it right there with the gray door. And we're going to throw both Hyperbeam and Deathbeam, and we're going to see and compare the length of the Hyperbeam slash Deathbeam and see if there's any visual difference. I can already tell you there's some kind of visual glitch I think going on, that Hyperbeam slash Deathbeam both stop at the certain range, but they even go beyond the ray itself, which is quite bizarre. Here on screen you can see right now the ray pictures I've been able to capture. You can see that the Deathbeam slash Hyperbeam both stop at a certain range, but even if people are beyond this range, you can still kill them, which is just kind of weird. I assume it's just a visual glitch, so I wasn't really bothered by it, and I just wanted to mention it if you get confused by this. Anyways, so I have my alt account right there placed now, and I'm throwing now Deathbeam, and honestly my alt account cannot see it going past that door, so I'll move a little bit closer and I'll see. Now I can actually see the Deathbeam right there, so I'll throw it a little bit right there now. So hopefully I can actually see it. I'll actually position my alt account a little bit further right there, so let me just move it a little bit. There you go. And now I can actually see it a lot better. So I can see where Deathbeam actually stops. It stops right next to my alt account, actually. I'll try to take a screenshot so I can show it to you, of course. So there we go. I was actually able to capture the screenshot. You can see it on screen now. And now we're going to do the exact same thing with Hyperbeam, and we're going to compare if there's any difference between the length, of course. And what can we see? There's no difference between the length, but now the surprising thing, you can actually see it on screen now, the difference, I guess, because there's no difference. If we actually throw it, you can still see that my alt account actually gets killed by the ray, even though it goes actually beyond the ray itself, which is just really bizarre. So what do we just figure out? There's no difference between the range of Deathbeam and Hyperbeam. So another thing that we can try, is there a difference in how many walls it can actually penetrate? How we're going to test this? Well, we have a lot of walls right here in front of us, so what we're going to do, we're going to place the alt account right over there, behind all those beautiful walls, and then we're going to throw the Deathbeam and Hyperbeam through the walls, and we're going to see if my alt account gets killed by both of them equally. So yeah, let's just do this test as well, and I guess then we can already come to a conclusion, which was pretty surprising actually. So there we go, I've placed my alt account behind the shelf actually. So let me just throw the Hyperbeam. We're going to throw it right there. Let's see, I think I should be able to hit it in a few seconds. Oh, you can see in third person, it's actually a lot easier to throw the Deathbeam in a straight way. And it seems to be having some issues. I'm not sure if I'm just not hitting my alt account right now. I just throw it. Oh, there you go. We finally managed to hit it. And there was no problem at all. I'm going to showcase you guys the location in a few seconds, of course, so you guys can see that there's a lot of walls and objects on the way. So we should be able to figure this out fairly reliably. So I'm going to put my alt account now in the same spot as previously. And then, of course, we're going to use Deathbeam now. And we're going to try to figure out if there's any difference between those two. So my alt account is now in this exact same location as previously. We're going to throw the Deathbeam. I should not forget this. There you go. You can see 6,000 gems against 15,000 gems. And is there any difference? Let's just see. I just got to find my alt account, and there you go. Same thing. Let's just go there and let me show you how many walls. So this is one wall, a very, very big wall. number 2. And I don't think we actually hit this, so we're not going to count that. Number 3 right here, so that's 3 walls. And then you have all of these tiny objects right here. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So pretty much 9 objects that the Deathbeam slash Hyperbeam had to go through. And I think that's quite a lot of walls, and that's, like, let's be honest, I think you're not going to find a map where you can throw through more objects slash walls than 9 most likely. Unless, of course, you would throw it from all the way over here, which we could try as well. Let's give that one a try. You know what? We have a few more walls right here, so let's give this one a try as well. But you saw there was a lot of objects in the way, and I guess this is going to be the final testing, and then we're just going to come to the conclusion. We're going to start this time around with Deathbeam once again. This should definitely be out of the range of the ray itself, but we will probably see the same result as previously, that it doesn't really matter if it's out of the ray. So yeah, there we go. We just gotta adjust the height a little bit, and you can see Deathbeam has no issue at all. You can see we're using Deathbeam right now. There you go. It's still Deathbeam. It had no problem at all killing the person behind all of those walls, all of those objects. I think this time around there was actually a few less objects, but a few more walls, so I don't know. We're going to come to the conclusion in a few seconds. Let me just put my alt account back there, and we're going to do the same thing with Hyperbeam. Would be a surprise if this one would fail now. I'm pretty certain it's just going to be the same result once again. So there we go. Last testing right here. Let's use Hyperbeam. And once again, you can see same effect. It just kills it, and yeah, now the conclusion. Where's the difference between Hyperbeam and Deathbeam? There's no difference. The only difference is the visual difference, and if you really care about this rainbow beam, then well, go for it. It's pretty cool. I think a lot of people really like it, and a lot of people actually think about Hyperbeam more than about Deathbeam, and it's actually quite surprising to me how many people say like, oh, Hyperbeam is so much better than Deathbeam, because at the end of the day, they're literally the same, and I couldn't really find a difference between the two. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe I didn't consider a specific aspect about the two. If I did not include any other aspect that might be quite important to the comparison right here, feel free to share it in the comments down below. If I did a mistake, I'll definitely own up to it and make maybe a follow-up video or just pin your comment. But either way, those are the main things I could really think of while comparing these items right here. And honestly, if you just want something that goes through the walls, is pretty fast, and pretty much a laser that's just a little bit better, go for Deathbeam. It's cheaper, it looks nice, it's pretty effective, it has a nice sound, and it's pretty much the same as Hyperbeam. There is pretty much no difference that I could figure out right now in this video. So if you enjoyed this video, feel free to leave some comments down below. If you have any suggestions on how I should have compared them instead, feel free to leave that in the comments down below as well. I would really appreciate it either way. And well, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed today's episode, and I'll see you next time. Bye guys.